Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Chamber Live on Facebook Live. I am Christine Kernan, Vice President of the Princeton-Mercer Regional Chamber, and I am pleased to have as my guests today, Debbie Schaeffer, third-generation owner, Mrs. G's Appliance, and Jessica Durrie, co-founder of Small World Coffee. Jessica Durrie has spent her career building hospitality environments where customers and employees alike feel strong sense of community. In 1993, she founded Small World Coffee, two high-volume cafes and wholesale coffee roasters in Princeton, New Jersey. Debbie is the third-generation owner of Mrs. G's Appliance in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, and uses the same philosophy of her grandparents, taking care of her customers, having a great selection of brands in the showroom, and keeping a long tradition of supporting the community and local charities. She plans on keeping Mrs. G's as a foremost appliance dealer in New Jersey for a long while to come. Jessica and Debbie will be discussing how they have been navigating the COVID-19 small business landscape. You will hear from these two highly successful independent business owners in our region on how they are coping with the current challenges of doing business at this time of COVID-19 and what they are putting into place to reopen and stay open for business. Debbie and Jessica will be taking questions towards the end of the broadcast, so please feel free to place your questions in the comments area of the newsfeed. Now, I would like to get started with the program and turn it over to Debbie and Jessica.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, Jessica. How are you? Thank you for being with us today. So I'm going to leave this program to you, and we're very excited to hear everything that you have to tell us. So take it away.
Okay, so I'm going to start it off with, because Mrs. G's has been actually considered an essential business, and we have been open all this time. I can't believe, Jessica, it's been 11 weeks.
I know.
Now, a lot of people have said, they always use the word lockdown. I just find that that's such a negative word. So I just stay at home, where the governor announced that Saturday, feel like it was yesterday, can't believe it was 11 weeks ago, where he listed those businesses that can stay open. And one was home improvement, and the appliances fall into that. We actually were so nervous that day when they made the announcement that we reached out to the governor's office to confirm that the appliance stores could stay open. So when we heard that we could stay open, that Saturday, we were like jumping for joy. I mean, we just felt like, I as an owner, the employees, that, we didn't, have to, go forward with, closing down. And that lasted for about a half an hour to an hour until I realized, and even my staff realized, okay, now what? We had already had some processes in place. We were doing the social distancing. We were have a lot of sanitized items all over the store. We had started some digital processes, new items on our website that we didn't have before, and I'll talk to that in a bit. But we really didn't think clearly until that announcement, where there was too many questions and confusion. The most important, there's two very important in retail. Restaurants are, as you know, restaurants are also considered retail. Is you have your customers. If we didn't have our customers, we wouldn't be in business. But we have our staff, and our staff is as important as the customer. We want to make sure that the morale is there, that we're taking good care of our customers, even pre-COVID. So right at that moment was, how do we keep our staff safe? Mm-hmm. And the social distancing. So social distancing is, it sounds easy, the 6 feet, Okay, and it's probably would even be better if it was a little wider. In Princeton, Jessica, did you see the tiger where they measured the length of the tiger, right? 6 feet. Well, we actually have, which is very helpful, is we have tape on the floor which shows you 6 feet for social distancing. And you'd be surprised, it's in our nature for not only staff members, but for customers to want to be close.
Yep.
And that has been extremely challenging. But having the visual somewhere in the store just to remind people, it does seem easy, but having a visual is very important, right?
Yeah.
So the social distancing. And with that, when you're sitting at desks, you have to make sure that you're at least 6 feet apart. So what did that mean? That meant that I had to reschedule those people who are sitting closer to each other so that the social distancing can take place. The other thing that we did, Mrs. G's has 21 employees, and I tried to figure out who could actually work at home and not work at the store. And I had 4 employees that could do this. Our service, person who handles IT and website and marketing, one of my managers who has been with us for 53 years, Tom Gray, who just celebrated yesterday for 53 years anniversary, was best for him to stay home. And then also an outside sales professional, and setting them up. So again, to keep the showroom with not a lot of people that didn't need to be there.
Right.
And then, so the social distancing, the sanitizers, keeping everything clean. And the other thing that we did too is, with one of my managers, I sat down with every employee to make sure that they want to work, that they feel safe, that they feel that I'm doing everything that I can to keep them safe, and that they feel comfortable. And I was very happy that everybody, wanted to come. So there was a lot of processes. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Of course, the masks. I will tell you, for those that wear them in their, the healthcare providers who have been so wonderful, we so appreciate all of you out there. But to wear those masks all day long has definitely been a challenge. And it's really hard, especially if you wear glasses. They can fog up. And you need to find the right mask that keeps you, doesn't bother your ears. So those, and we wear gloves. That's very important. But we're getting into the summer season. I don't really know what's going to be when it's going to get hotter when you're wearing all of those. But we need to get outside and make sure that everybody takes a break and goes outside, breathe some fresh air. So those are the things that Jessica, you might want to talk about what you're doing, because I've had the 11 weeks to kind of work it through.
Yeah. Well, we were allowed to stay open, but we opted to close. And it was such a surreal couple of weeks leading up to it, when we slowly started realizing more and more every single day that this was something that we were really going to have to deal with and contend with. And I just remember the week or 10 days prior to closing, I was having constant meetings with other local retailers, the Bent Spoon, Shazam's, Labyrinth Books, Jam and Crepes, Princeton Corkscrew. And we were all meeting with each other, trying to figure out how are we going to deal with this. We actually all had a meeting with Jeff Grosser, the health officer, prior to closing. But eventually, I just remember it was March 16th, and I was having a meeting with my general manager and sort of my IT guy. And we were just having a heart-to-heart in the office, and it became very apparent that it was time to close. And we made the decision very abruptly. It felt abrupt. And in that moment, I realized I was going to have to lay off I think I laid off about 35 employees. And I kept 3 of my managers on have been on the whole time. And we had to factor in so many things into that decision because we wanted our employees to feel taken care of and to not feel afraid and abandoned. We did continue to pay their health insurance through the month of May, which was a big commitment. And it helped them, feel connected to the company still, but also taken care of. But then after we closed, then it was a process, like in the restaurant industry. I'm sure people heard many stories about it with all the inventory that we had all the perishable food we had to figure out how to find homes for. And so that took us about 4 days, just going through inventory, delivering gallons of milk to soup kitchens and distributing it to employees. And then we realized, okay, we need to figure out a way to sell all this coffee. So that's when we started creating the online presence for selling our bulk items. And my IT guy, Zach, quickly put together a website for us to do commerce on in the cafes. And we did bulk provisions 3 days a week pickup for many weeks. And then eventually we added the beverages to that, the beverages and the food. And we brought back more employees to the staff. And then, so that all of those decisions had so many dynamics that we had to figure out, because bringing employees back to work had the dynamic of making sure they felt safe, making sure they felt like we were putting all the mitigation factors in place for them. And, a lot of them had fear of coming back to work. So that was lots of very long phone calls with employees. And then the operational side of it was suddenly we were selling cups of coffee and egg sandwiches on the internet through a website instead of face-to-face, where, the customer can be like, I want that cappuccino with skim milk. No, I want it mixed milk. And, they have all their particular ways of ordering something. And so suddenly we had to do that through the website. And the process of receiving orders, producing orders, expediting them, and delivering them to the customer was an entire different mechanism than what we were used to for both us and the customer. So we had to, those first couple of days, especially some of them that were a little busy, we had to figure out on the fly how to create a whole new system of delivery. And it was incredibly stressful for everyone behind the scenes. And we realized very quickly that it was too stressful of an environment for people to work a really long day. Like, we had to shorten the shifts to make it more manageable.
Yeah.
Especially with the masks on and all of that in place.
So let's go back to what you said about, for no better word, improving your digital space or expanding it, because I feel that, if there's a silver lining in all of this, and you've had your anxiety staying closed, I've had my anxieties staying open, and just also feeling just feeling terrible. Many of my friends, beauty salons and restaurants, and it's hard to hear that you had to stay closed. But through all of this, I feel that the future, no matter what retail business or what business you're in, it really showed it's important that we have to create a digital space that is going to mirror our retail space, our actual brick and mortar space, as close as possible.
Yeah.
Because people have gotten used to, or will get used to, especially if they don't want to gather, they're going to want to continue using the digital space. And we have to be right there. If we want to stay in business, we have to be right there and giving them the best experience online, as well as that great experience that you have in the showroom, in your restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you have made a lot of those.
And it's definitely a work in process, which, we're still researching other platforms and a better way to do it. I mean, I remember you talking to me about how suddenly you realized that the chat feature was really beneficial to you, and you hadn't heard that prior.
Very. Chat has always been around. I mean, it's been around for years. But I'm always the type of person that doesn't really like to chat. So I've never explored that for Mrs. G's. But knowing that it was going to be very important once everyone is staying at home,
right.
That it's really incredible how truly important it is, and so glad that we now have it. And that was a whole learning experience too. Just one time I forgot to turn it off, and it was Easter. We're not open on Easter, and the chats kept chatting on my phone, and I was literally, because we were closed, but I was doing my best to try to figure out how to shut the chat off. And so until I was able to figure that out, I was answering the questions that were closed today, but we'll get back to you tomorrow. So so those were some of the things that happened. Yeah.
So then our next step in the journey, once we got Nassau open for beverages, about 3 weeks ago, I started planning the reopening of the Witherspoon location for walk-in takeout traffic. So that's been in the planning works for 3 weeks, and many considerations were taken into place. Obviously, the social distancing. We bought the social distancing markers were made by Three Bears Marketing locally. Our plexiglass shields for the POS were made by Lee Visuals locally. And obviously trying to support some of our other local businesses through this instead of just buying it online. And then just the whole flow of customers and the enter and exit signage, all these things to make sure that first, my employees feel safe, and secondly, that it's obvious to the customer how they navigate in the space now compared to the way it used to be. And today was actually opening day. We opened 7:30 this morning to the public, and we have shortened hours for now, and we'll be expanding them over time. So it's been an incredible journey. And I think that one of the main things that, I've learned a lot, I'm sure you have too, through all of this. And being a business owner and a leader through this is really hard because people are looking to you for the answers. And many of the questions that are being asked of us have never been asked before, and we've never had to contend with the complexities of them. And so I've just tried really hard to stay true to our mission, our values, our ethos, and use those to help guide me in how to make the decisions in this new landscape. And hopefully, if I'm able to keep those in line, it'll be easier to make the adjustments and then also to spring back to what we were doing before in whatever form that is. But I think it's so important as a business owner to try and stay true to those core values in the midst of all of this chaos and new
Right.
decision making.
So I know for all those who are opening their businesses or certainly on the retail level, I always sat out in front. I mean, my grandmother sat, her desk was by the front door. My desk is by the front door. So I'm always in the front lines. And that, as a business owner, Jessica, you're always there as well. It's important for our staff, our team, you know, to see me out there with them and supporting them. But at the same time, I'm also, you know, trying to, you know, make sure that everybody is, you know, using the protocols that I laid out. And of course, social distancing is the most important. So you'll see me in the store going like this, you know, you need to, you know, stay a little bit apart. And it, you know, like I said, it's in our nature that we want to be close, but we want everybody to be healthy, and that's so important. I've noticed when you go shopping, they'll have markers on the floor of where you need to stand if you're waiting in line. You know, and those are important markers. You know, so.
I think one of the things that's challenging because we both have employees that are, you know, customer facing all day long, and they're unfortunately being put, you know, we're in the service industry, whether it's retail that you're doing or hospitality that I'm doing. And in customer service, you want to always give the customer a great experience. You want them to feel good about coming to your establishment.
Right.
And in this new landscape, there's, you know, safety measures in place, like wearing masks and social distancing. And now our employees are sometimes being put in the position of having to basically police this situation, which it's counterintuitive to the hospitality experience to tell a customer, you have to put a mask on or you need to leave. And I think that those stressors on our employees need to be taken into consideration throughout their workday.
Yeah, and you know, I just also wanted to mention too was that throughout all this past 11 weeks, I mentioned to you before, Jessica, that I use a human resource company, a payroll company called Fusion, who's also local business, and they also helped me through the processes. They were very, very good about me checking, you know, owner-employee relationships, making sure that I have everything in place. And also, we didn't get a chance, and time goes by so quickly, we didn't get a chance to talk about the PPP. But, you know, that we were very, I'm sorry, Christine.
Ask you those questions because I'm very interested in how, you know, and since we are going to get started with questions, I do have one here though from Peter asking, as you move to open and staffing and issues that you both face, how are you addressing it? Like, you know, your staffing issues and at this point. I know, and I'll have Jessica answer this one first. I know, Jessica, you had some.
Yeah, it's been challenging, and I mean, Debbie, your staff stayed on the whole time, and I had to, you know, temporarily lay off quite a few people, and there were many concerns. Obviously, I mentioned some of them prior. Was the fear of working in a customer-facing environment, and that was something that we had to talk through. And that's where all the mitigation factors are so important. And also, just the way things worked out with unemployment and the stimulus checks. Some of them were making more money than they were making when they were working. And so there were just these things in conflict with one another that needed to be navigated and navigated carefully. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I just want to, so we have 24 employees, and we did have to furlough one employee based on the, not having as many sales expected, and then also trying to do with the timing, hours and things like that. And then also the greeters, because we weren't getting the people through the doors. They were pretty much if there was any business, the essential business, that they were over the phone or by chat. But I will tell you, so it was really hard. We had one person. I can't even imagine. 3 people. I can't even imagine what it would be like when you're talking to everyone. So it was really, really tough. But with the PPP, I was so, which was a challenge in itself. Once that was resolved, I brought them back. And it was the greeters and one sales associate. So.
Yeah, and our situation was very different because when we got the PPP, I had this idea of what I was going to do, but the reality was we couldn't get the stores open. I couldn't bring everyone back. So for a lot of restaurants, the PPP loan isn't working the way it was intended, and because we couldn't spend it on payroll. And so at this point, for a business like ours, I'm kind of just waiting and seeing how it all works out. And I obviously was able the money is providing us with liquidity so that we can pay our bills. But it's still a work in process, the PPP.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We have another question. How are you marketing and advertising? How are you advertising?
Well, so for us, the most important with marketing right away is to let all social media is to let people know what our processes are, what we're doing to make sure that, especially if they purchase an appliance and it's delivered, that our delivery personnel are using all the processes, wearing masks, gloves, taking sanitizers, and just making sure that that message is communicated. It's actually we're just putting it on our on hold message when people call the store. So we put that out everywhere. The other message is to let people know there are many different ways to shop at Mrs. G's. You don't have to come in the store. You can call, you can place an order over the phone. You can place an order online. You can talk to us on chat. So there's lots of ways to purchase. And we kept all our other marketing, marketing the manufacturers. We just had Memorial Day sale. So, we need to keep our name out there. Yeah. So it was important for us to keep our marketing and keep our marketing dollars there and to keep going with that.
Yeah, I think it's really smart, Debbie. I really do, because it is true. If you're not out there, people forget your name. You can go by the wayside. So, Jessica, how about you? How are you advertising?
We don't really do print ads or that kind of advertising. For our kind of business, it's always been word of mouth advertising has been like what has allowed us to mushroom. But we definitely have a social media presence. And I have a woman, Jackie Alexander, who does our social media, both our Facebook and our Instagram. And she has been working really hard over the last 12 weeks, helping me keep our message out there, stay relevant, stay connected with the customers, letting them know what's going on, and then just updating our website all the time with all the changes. and then using the employees to help communicate the message.
Okay, we have another question from Deborah. How can your friends and your clients best support you?
Spend money.
Yeah, yes. Well, just like Jessica said, word of mouth is the best marketing out there. You can't do any better than word of mouth. And every other dollar that is spent is really just to support that. To refer your family and friends to shop at Small World, get your coffee, shop at Mrs. G's, and we all have to support local. I mean, everything that Mrs. G does, and I know Jessica does the same thing, no matter what, even like I just talked about Fusion, they're local. Everything that Lee Imaging, they're local. They do a lot. They just put up a beautiful sign that says curbside pickup because that resonates, curbside pickup, it resonates. Even though we always had a customer pickup sign, but they made that sign for us. So whatever we do is supporting local. You want to think local first. That's the most important.
I agree. We have to support our fellow small merchants right now because it's been tough for everybody.
I know, and Jessica, you and I had a conversation, and you were saying how you are all banding together, and you are stronger together, and you're helping one another navigate through this. So just talk a little bit about that. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's in big ways and small ways, and it's just like constant innovation with the small retail community, local retail community. For instance, Jam and Crepes decided to do this Sunday brunch with their food truck, and they didn't have to do this, but they reached out to me, they reached out to Lily Pies, they reached out to the Bent Spoon, and they incorporated aspects of our menu into their menu and helped generate sales for us, but also help keep us relevant in this time and keep all of our names out there. And when we closed, I had Jazam's calling me saying, I can help you do this. And I had Laurent at the Corkscrew calling me saying, I can do this. And, even if some of those ideas don't pan out, knowing that we have each other to talk to and get ideas from and share resources is invaluable.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. This was really great information. And what I love about having both of you on the show is that, you're real businesses, you're in our community, and you're reinventing yourselves because you have to.
Right.
And everybody has to do that. The chamber's doing it as well. So thank you both for being members of the chamber as well. I do want to say that, and doing business with other chamber members. Everyone you mentioned was a chamber member. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I so appreciate you asking us on the show today.
Oh, very well.
Be safe out there. Be safe.
Yeah.
Be healthy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd also like to give a big shout out to our production sponsor, April Setti and New Jersey Buzz Productions. If you are not familiar with New Jersey Buzz, I highly recommend you following them on Facebook. Thank you all for tuning in. I do hope you will join us again Tuesday, June 16th at 12:30 p.m. for our next Chamber Live broadcast. Thanks again. Shop local, be safe, and be well. Bye now.